come to the front if there's room. Absolutely feel free. My name is Justin Arnold, and I'm the Iowa Political Director for Senator Rubio's campaign here in Iowa. And I'd first like to thank you all for coming out and making this event such a big success. This campaign is going to be innovative, exciting, and well organized. And at some point along the way, I am asking each and every one of you to get involved with us, and I would hope that the first step of that happening is today by checking the box on our sign-in sheets when you came in that you'd like to join the team. This election is going to be won by combining Senator Rubio's principles and ideas with the passion of Iowans all across the state. And although this may start as a campaign today, it will end as a movement. And in that, I hope you all take part. So if you please welcome right now our State Chair, Jack Whitver, and Senator Marco Rubio.
Well, good morning. My name is Jack Whitver. I'm a state senator from Ankeny, and I really appreciate you guys coming out here this morning. There's 100 things you could be doing on a Saturday morning, and the fact that you're here with us today is very important to us. You know, as Iowans, we have a very unique opportunity to get to meet presidential candidates. We get to shake their hand, look them in the eye, get to know them as people, and it's an opportunity that we should not take for granted here in Iowa. You know, I've had a chance to meet almost every candidate and got to know several of them on a deeper level. And I had a chance to sit down with Senator Rubio, and I immediately knew that he was the guy that I wanted to support. About a month ago, I endorsed him and took a position as his state chair here in Iowa. I'm extremely excited about the team that we're building here in Iowa and the effort that is going into that campaign. We want all you guys to be a part of that effort. I had a chance to meet him. He is an extremely, about a month ago, we spent a whole day together. He's an extremely genuine person. He's hardworking. He's a good family man, which is important to me. You'll see my 3 little kids running around here. But he's someone that has a real passion for this country. He is a rock-solid conservative that has a vision to restore the American dream and create a new American century. It's not good enough just to be a conservative, though. We need someone that can articulate our conservative beliefs all over the country. And there is no better, more articulate messenger for what we believe than Senator Marco Rubio. A lot of people have said that he's the future of the Republican Party. I agree with that, and I think that future starts right here in Iowa and ends November 2016 in the White House. And finally, the last thing that was very important to me is we need a candidate who can win. We need someone that will win in November. There is one person that I believe can unite our party and inspire America, and that's Marco Rubio. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Please welcome to Ames, Senator Marco Rubio.
I think we got a memo last night, like a light blue shirt and khakis, so it's perfect. I'm so happy to be here with you guys. This is so much fun, and I appreciate you coming out this morning to hear me. I'm gonna try to be brief because I want to shake as many hands and talk to you in person with as many of you as possible. Here's what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about why I'm running for president, and then I want to ask you for your support. So if you look at the sign here that says a new American century, what does that mean? Let me tell you what it means for me, and I hope it means for you. I know for a fact, because I lived it, and so did you, that the 20th century was the American century. Here's why I know that. I don't know about it because I read about it in history books, although if you do, you'll see that as well. I know about it because my parents lived it. They were born in the island of Cuba to poor families. And they lived in a society like most people that have ever lived, a society that told them that they could only be what their parents were before them. And that wasn't good enough for them. So in 1956, May 27th of 1956, so it was 59 years ago last week, they came to the United States of America. And their life in this country initially was not easy either. They still didn't know the language very well. They didn't have any money, and both had very limited education. But they persevered, and let me tell you what happened over time. First of all, they found pretty good work. My father worked his way up to being a banquet bartender. My mother worked in a factory, and she was a cashier. She was a maid at a hotel. She was a stock clerk at Kmart. They were never rich or famous, but let me tell you what they achieved. They owned a home. in a safe and stable neighborhood. They raised 4 children. They retired with dignity and security, and all 4 of their kids went on to college and a better life. That was an extraordinary achievement. They were never rich or famous, but they were successful because just a few decades removed from despair, they achieved what we now call the American dream. You know, thank you. When I tell people that story, you know what they say? Oh, so you don't come from privilege. Well, if by privilege you mean money and fame, yeah, I don't. But both of my parents were married to each other, and they loved each other, and they loved us. I was raised in a strong and safe and stable home. And most importantly, I was raised by parents who taught us that it didn't matter that my dad was a bartender and my mom was a maid. I could be anything I wanted because I was an American. And now, in this new century, everything's begun to change. First of all, the economy is dramatically different from the one we leave behind. We're not just competing against each other anymore. We compete with dozens of other countries for the best jobs, the best ideas, the best talent, the best businesses. Work has changed. Machines have replaced people or left us with jobs that don't pay what they once did. And the world has changed. It isn't the Soviet Union anymore. Now it's both Russia, China, and Iran trying to dominate regions of the world. It's radical jihadists taking over cities that were liberated at the price of American blood. And they're doing it, taking over these cities with the weapons we left behind. And it's allies like Israel around the world that have come to view this president as unreliable and untrustworthy. And the result of all these challenges is that millions of Americans like us, who have grown up with the promise of America, are now starting to doubt whether this is still a special country, and if so, how much longer it will be. I chose to run for president because with all my heart I believe that this new century can be better than the one we leave behind. Despite our challenges, I wouldn't trade places with any other country in the world. But we're going to have to accept the fact that while the world around us has changed, too many of the people that are leading us are still stuck in the past. So now we have millions of Americans who are struggling to make ends meet. Do you know that 2/3 of Americans make less money today in real dollars than they did in 2002? The cost of everything has gone up, but they make less than they did in 2002. Just 48 hours ago, we saw a survey that said that most Americans cannot afford a $400 unexpected expense. And what is the outdated leader's answer to that? We're going to raise the minimum wage by a couple bucks, and we're going to tax the rich people. Then you've got millions of young Americans that went to college and got a degree because that was what they told they needed to do. And now they've got a bunch of loans and a degree that didn't lead to a job. And what's the outdated leader's answer to that? We're going to lower your monthly payment on your loans by a couple bucks. For the first time in 35 years, we have more businesses dying in America than starting. And what's the outdated leader's answer to that? Well, we'll just create even more regulations. And around the world, we've got radical jihadists taking over these cities, plotting to behead Americans. We've got allies that no longer trust us. We have China controlling the South China Sea, Russia invading Ukraine, Iran on the verge of dominating yet another country. And what do our outdated leaders think? Well, let's reduce our military. Let's gut our intelligence programs. Because America can no longer afford to be the most powerful country in the world in their mind. We keep doing these things, the future is going to leave us behind. The time has come to turn the page and allow a new generation of Americans to lead us into a new century. And this is fully achievable for us. If you are struggling to make ends meet because your paycheck isn't high enough, we are going to offer you an agenda that helps increase your paycheck and lower your cost of living. For starters, we're going to have a tax code that says that the more your employer pays you, the less your employer will owe to the IRS. And we're going to help you with the cost of living, and here's how. We are going to lead the world in oil and natural gas production so that both the cost of heating and cooling your home and the cost of gassing up your car stabilizes and over time lowers. And it'll create good jobs in those industries as well. For young Americans that are struggling with all the student loan debt and degrees that do not lead to jobs, we're going to promote policies that allow you to have the kinds of jobs that you went to school for. We're going to have a tax code that tells employers the more people you hire, the less you'll owe in taxes. We're going to lower regulations in this country to make it easier for you to start a business. And to help this never happen again, we are going to make sure that before you take out a student loan, the school has to tell you how much people make when they graduate with that degree from that school. so you can make an intelligent decision about whether you should be borrowing $50,000 to become a Greek philosopher. What about people that are struggling now? They're working, they make $15 an hour. But how are they ever going to get a raise? The single mother who works as a receptionist or as a home health aide. The only way they're ever going to get a raise is to be able to go back to school, but they can't. Because they have to work full time and raise a family. They can't just drop everything and go to school for 4 years, sitting in a classroom. And that's why we need a 21st century higher education model. For starters, a model that says not everyone has to go to a 4-year college. We need welders and pipe fitters and plumbers and mechanics and airplane technicians. These are good paying jobs. These are good paying jobs. They pay better than many of the jobs people get 4-year degrees for. Second, we need flexible higher education programs that allow older workers who are working full-time and raising a family to get a degree based on what you know, not how many hours you sat in the classroom. So for starters, you will get credit for what you already know. If you've been working for years as a home health aide, we're going to give you credit for that work. And then we're going to allow you to get the rest of your credits online, on weekends, at night, at your own pace. So you can package learning from a variety of different sources instead of having to go to a traditional college, spend a bunch of money, sit there for 4 years. Look, I know someone who did that, or that route. When I was the Speaker of the Florida House, my administrative assistant made $28,000, $29,000 a year. That's what the state paid. She was a single mother raising her daughter by herself and living with her mom. She was going to school at night to become a paralegal. When she graduated, before I termed out of office, she went from making $28,000 or $29,000 to $59,000, $60,000 a year. You get that higher education, you can change your life, and it changed the life of her daughter as well. People that are struggling to make ends meet because they can't start a business, we have to make America the best place in the world to do that. And look, this is crushing for a small business. Because a big corporation, if you bury them in regulations, they'll just hire a law firm to navigate it. They don't like it, but they can do it. But if you're starting a business out of the spare bedroom of your home, not only are you probably in violation of the zoning code, but you can't afford to hire a lawyer to navigate all that stuff. So you just don't have it. We are going to have a hard cap on what federal regulations can cost our economy when I'm president. And we're going to... While not all S corporations are small businesses, almost every small business in America is an S corporation, and we are going to lower the taxes on S corporations, just like we're going to lower the taxes on C corporations, so that we become the easiest and best place in the world to start a business, hire people, grow, and succeed. And by the way, we're going to repeal and replace Obamacare before it continues to repeal. Repeal and replace Obamacare before it continues to repeal and replace small businesses. Let me tell you something else we need in this country. We need a reinvigoration of our values and of our families. When I'm President of the United States, if I'm given that opportunity, we are going to have a president that strengthens the family, not competes against it. And we are going to have a president that strengthens our values, not tries to replace them. And we're going to do that by 3 primary measures. The first is we're going to have a tax code that gets rid of the marriage penalty. We should not have a tax code that punishes marriage. Second, we are going to have safety net programs and anti-poverty programs in America that actually cure poverty. And they cure poverty by requiring everyone on these programs to either be working or going to school. Because the only cure for poverty is a good paying job. And when I'm President of the United States, and I've given that opportunity, we're going to have an Attorney General and we're going to have judges that will defend the right of every American, not just to their Second Amendment rights, but to the right to live out their faith in every aspect of their lives. We are going to protect Americans' faith and traditional values from the discrimination in their faith. And on the global stage, when I'm president, our allies will trust us, and our adversaries will respect and fear us. Because for starters, we are going to rebuild our military once again. We are going to invest in the technologies necessary for 2015. We aren't just going to have tactics. We're going to have a strategy to work with our allies in Asia to confront what China is doing in the South China Sea. We're going to have a strategy to reinvigorate NATO in Europe to confront what Vladimir Putin is trying to do. We're going to have a strategy in the Middle East to confront the dual threats of radical jihadists and Iran's ambitions in that region. And when I'm president, no one in the world will have any doubts that this country will do whatever it takes to ensure that Israel survives and prospers as a Jewish state. This is the exciting future that's before us. The opportunity to build a country with a strong economy, strong people, with strong values, and a strong country on the global stage. This is the new American century that's within our reach. But to do this, we have to be willing to turn the page on yesterday, because yesterday is over. We are proud of our history, but we are excited about our future. And if we want it, this new future can be better than our nation has ever been. Not everyone's excited about turning the page, as you can imagine. I've heard their voices. Some of them tell me, you should have waited your turn. I've heard that before. You see, in 2009, I decided to run for the U.S. Senate against the then Republican governor of Florida. And he was beating me by 60 points in the polls. And he was outraising me 10-1. And the entire Republican establishment, I mean the entire Republican establishment, in Washington and in Florida was with him. The only people that thought I could win lived in my house. 4 of them were under the age of 10. But I chose to run then for the same reason I run now, because I know if we keep promoting the same people, we'll be left behind by the future. I've had people tell me, you can't run, you're not old enough. Or you haven't been in government long enough. I've heard that too. Because I was even younger back in 2005 when I was ascending to become Speaker of the Florida House. And I chose then, I said, we're not going to get our ideas from the state capitol alone. We're going to go out and gather ideas from Floridians all across the country. And we created something called 100 Innovative Ideas for Florida's Future. Ideas that came from real people, not just from politicians. And we balanced one of the largest state budgets in the country without raising taxes. And we increased school standards without Common Core. And just as a reminder, I'm 44, but I feel 45. And I may not have been in government as long as some of the other people running, but I've been in government long enough to know that what we're doing now doesn't work. That the old ways no longer suffice. The latest one that I'm starting to hear rumblings about is Marco Rubio is not rich enough to be president. Well, it's true, I don't make $11 million a year giving speeches to special interest groups. And it's true that my family's foundation hasn't raised $2 billion, a lot of it from foreign entities with business before the State Department. My wife and I, every month, make sure that we can afford to send my 4 children, and I'm proud of this, to receive a private Christian-based education. I, up until recently, had a student loan debt that I paid off with my book, An American Son, which is now available on paperback. And we have a mortgage that we have to pay every month. But the truth is, the biggest debt I have isn't to a bank. The biggest debt that I have is to America. This isn't just the country that I grew up in. This is literally the nation that changed the history of my family. When my father was 9 years old, his mother died. And he had to leave school, stop going to school, and he had to go to work. And he would never go back to school again. And he would work for the next 70 years of his life. My father worked as a banquet bartender, and he was grateful for the work he had. But that's not the life he wanted for us. For years, on nights, on weekends, on holidays, on days I'm sure he didn't want to go to work, he stood behind a portable bar in the back of a banquet hall, so that one day we could achieve anything we wanted. That journey from behind that bar to this stage I'm on right now, that journey is the essence of the American dream. And but here's the thing, that's not just my story. That's our story. Every single one of us is a generation or two removed from someone who made our future the purpose of their lives. It reminds us that whether we remain special or not as a country will depend on whether or not that journey is still possible for the people that are trying to make it now. It reminds us that this election isn't about what laws we're going to pass. It's about what kind of country we're going to be. And we've made that choice before. Almost 6 decades ago, this nation and that generation chose to embrace a new frontier. In fact, they took up the challenge of a then young president who said, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. And here's the hard truth. For far too long, leaders in both parties have been campaigning on the promise of what your government can do for you. But my campaign is built on the idea of what together we can do for America. Because America doesn't owe us anything. But every single one of us, especially me, has a debt to this country we will never repay. Before us now is the extraordinary and historic opportunity to usher in the most exciting era in our history. And if we are willing to turn the page and embrace both the challenges and the opportunities of our time, what you and I will leave for our children is a country better than the one that was left for us. A nation stronger than it's ever been on the global stage. An economy more vibrant than ever. With jobs that pay more and have more time and flexibility than ever before. This is the exciting opportunity before us. And that's why I need your support. Because if we can succeed in this endeavor, this Republican Party can lead this country towards the new American century that lies before us. So I look forward to meeting all of you here today, and I look forward to being in Iowa often. My children finished school yesterday, my oldest daughter. And so we plan coming here as a family often to get to know you in the hopes of beginning this journey with a victory here alongside all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.